Hey YouTube, this is Mars 1952, and this video will be shot with an iPhone in one shot, and there will be a lot of talking. In fact, so many words will be coming out of my bleeping mouth that you will have to eat all the chickens. So anyway, let's get started. Alright, so Shopsmith has been making these retractable casters since 1951. They made something similar for the 10ER, slightly different. But these are virtually unchanged all the way up to from 1951 to 2024. The only change is right here. Hopefully you can see that there is a set screw on each side. I think it helps center this pin or the shaft. I don't know why it needed it because it's not a problem. But it's also quieter. Maybe that allows it to be not so squeaky. These older ones, the shaft goes into an aluminum pocket, and there's just no way to lubricate it. This one I've refurbished, I've lubricated everything else, and I listen to it. So I gotta figure out some way to get grease in there. So if you refurbish these, obviously you wanna clean up these and paint them so they don't rust again. And if you manage to get the pins out, I couldn't get the pins out of this because they were seized. You get the pins out, put a dab of grease in that aluminum pocket where this shaft goes in. You can also put a dab of grease inside these sleeves where the casters jam in there. Okay, so with casters later, another difference is even though these are all the same, they use them on different things like the standalone tool stands, power stations, so forth. This came off of a Shopsmith brand pin router. It had its own stand and a big bracket to mount your router above the work. And they didn't produce the router, they just made the stand. And to make their standard casters fit, they just put different spacers here. There's spacers built into the stand. It bolts right up with regular bolts instead of screws. So this one came out of a modern power station with a variable speed drive on it, and it's not very old, but it's already rusty. So I took it apart to clean that up. I'll put it back in. Now, the oldest one, I got this a long time ago, and the casters seemed to work as far as I knew. Never had a problem with it, but I decided to try to sell it. And I looked at it more critically. I was polishing everything up, making the casters run smooth. And I said, well, there's a piece of wire there. What's this wire doing wrapped around, right? And the previous owner had wrapped this wire around there to keep this from falling out because this part's broken. There's a piece right here, see? That's broken away. And the spring was missing. And in spite of the missing spring, that caster worked just fine. And maybe wonder what the spring was actually doing. And you can see over here, on this one, what the spring does. Now, when you activate the caster, push it down to the maximum, you see that sticks out. And when it's hanging down, and you go one more thing, it pulls back up in there. And that's all that does. So, but when you have this thing put on the machine, you got hundreds of pounds pressing down on there. It's weight is going to press down. It doesn't need that spring. This clip obviously keeps it from falling out. But you can do away with the spring and it still works. The only drawback is when if you're moving it, for like taking it outside, you have to go over a threshold. So it's heavy. You don't want to have to pick it up too far. And without that spring, these will fall down another inch. So you have to pick it up higher. That's the only drawback that I can think of to doing away with the springs. Now, these clips are also hard to find. So if you did away with the springs and the clips, maybe your springs are all rusty, they're broken, they're missing, whatever. You can just take this out, and before you put it back, put a stop collar on there, and you adjust the stop collar just to the point where this would allow it to be pushed out to the maximum, but the stop collar would keep it from falling out when you picked it up. So, like I said, if you need to, that's a good solution. All right, so what else didn't we cover? Okay, caster lubrication. These original casters are just some kind of hard resin, no bearing here either. The slip bearing happens in here. So that it runs on that, I should have showed you, it runs on this brass ring, that's the bearing. So this goes in, that's as far as it goes. And when you turn, when the wheel turns, it rubs on the inside of this collar. And there's no real way to lubricate that without taking this out. If you take it out, you can put a little bit of oil on there or grease, shove it back in. I suggest you do that if you're using this type of casters. When you refurb your casters, clean this up, clean it out on the inside and put some grease in there. That'll last for a decade probably without having to take them apart again. For all this stuff, I just wax this, I wax this. It's pretty easy to reach in and put a dab of wax on there. Now, Shopsmith sells some really nice casters that look like this. They're pretty expensive. I don't remember the exact price, but you can spend over $100 on them if you buy a new carriage as well. They sell the new casters with a new carriage and a jig to drill the new holes. So I made this out of a piece of phenolic resin. Got 2 bolts. The Shopsmith jig has 1 bolt and a pin. You put the pin in and then put the bolt in. But when I did that with this, it flopped around too much. So I put 2 bolts. And here is 2 new, actually it went in this way, up. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, I had to cut that notch off to make it fit. And these 2 holes are for higher up on the leg. You drill 2 new holes higher up on the leg to allow for the clearance. So, and for getting casters off, I made this gizmo. This is a tool I found at the scrapyard. I had it, it was rusty when I got it, and it just sat in my shop for decades. Didn't know what it was. So my wife is a physician, and it turns out this is a bone spreader. When a surgeon cracks your sternum, they use a couple of these to spread it out. But it was a nice tool. So I just took one of those cutoff wheels and notched it so that it fits right here. And I can pop that loose. Now it still wants to, it's not perfect, but it gets it close enough that I can pull these out. It's going to bottom out the spring, and then you can pull it the rest of the way. This one hasn't been lubricated yet. Oops, there we go. But they come out. So you can use your standard casters, no adjustment, or buy new 2-inch casters, no adjustment. You can buy the Shopsmith fancy casters, and it comes with a nice jig. Or you can buy these off of Amazon for $22. They're almost as good as the Shopsmith ones. Make your own jig for free. And then this caster, I got these at the scrapyard years ago as well, to clean them up and lube them. What I use these for is, so I'm taking my Shopsmith over rough terrain, taking it out on a gravel driveway, or taking it out to the trailer to take it to a remote location, or just out in the yard to do some kind of a construction work around my place. So you pop these out, pop these in, and you can see how much more clearance you get. Even with these fully extended, you only get 3/4 of an inch clearance. Here you've got another couple inches. And even with this, if you have the 3 inches installed, it still gives you more clearance. Now, you lose the ability to drop the legs onto the table or onto the ground and make it not move. But if you're working outside in the gravel or dirt, it's going to be hard to move anyway. All right, what did I forget? I talked about the wear, talked about the, oh, I know, one more thing. No, I didn't, I took it off, darn it. I put away already. I bought the Rollerblade casters. Let me pull it off. I bought Rollerblade casters for my office chairs. And they are super good casters, even though I got 5 of these for $17, $18, including shipping. Really nice bearings, because they're meant to be, you know, skated on the rollerblades, and they're super tough because people do all kinds of stunts and stuff with them, and they have nice variants in the top. Oh no, the rollerblades they do stunts on those. This is just a chair swivel. Nice bearings, better than this in both respects. Now, the problem is, look at the stem length. I believe this stem is 1 7/16. I don't remember. But anyway, it's obviously almost twice as long. So I worried that this part, although that's pretty sturdy, I was worried when you put these in here, what's going on? It didn't, it used to fit in there. All right, so apparently I've moved that in and out too many times and I've damaged this slip washer. But you can see there's just a little bit of play. When you put this in, there's just a little bit of play. And I don't think that lack of length is going to make any difference. I think that you could buy these. Yeah, this is old and loose. So what you can do if your casters don't grip anymore, you just spread this washer or this ring. You spread it out a little bit and it'll grip again. This one obviously I've played around with this too much. It also didn't have very much of a ring. That could be spread though. Okay, so we talked about the casters. Let me look at my list. They're all the same for the whole series, 1951 on, just different spacers for different machines. Talked about the broken one, and then what does the spring do, different wheel options, and the jig. And I guess all that's left is for you guys to eat all the chickens. And that's it.